Welcome to Living Not So Fabulously.
You know, today's guest has us talking about everything from artificial intelligence to the hit game show, Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader? Which I have to ask, are we smarter than a fifth grader, David?
I don't know. Today it doesn't necessarily feel like it. We're joined today by Phil Schraeder, who started at GumGum as employee number 10, rising from VP of Finance to its CEO in 2019. Amidst COVID, he led the charge to transform ad experiences through AI, securing $75 million from Goldman Sachs in 2021 to fuel that vision.
As an openly gay CEO in an industry where LGBTQ+ leaders raise less than 1% of funding, he's made diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging central to GumGum's mission. And you know, few of us appreciate having ads crash our Netflix and chill time, and we're all sort of looking at artificial intelligence with a mix of curiosity as well as cautious optimism, right? Because we're not sure if we're headed straight into the Matrix or into the warm embrace of the Iron Giant. So let's hear what the very real human, Phil Schraeder, has to say.
So welcome to Living Not So Fabulously, Phil Schraeder. We're happy to have you here.
I'm excited to be here. Thanks so much, guys.
Yeah.
Of course.
We are definitely excited to talk to you about all things personal finance, including your stint on Am I Smarter or Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader?
Yeah.
But first, we want to talk to you a little bit about the fact that you are the CEO of GumGum, which is a AI digital advertising firm. And right now, it seems like AI is getting a lot of scrutiny, especially around this whole idea of environmental issues, stealing art or written content. So with GumGum's approach to AI, is there something different that you're doing, or why is it that GumGum is thinking about AI differently?
Yeah. So as much as there are always like you mentioned, a lot of the challenges, there's like so much opportunity with AI. So at GumGum, what we focus on is we are a contextual first technology company. And what we mean by that is we are using AI to understand digital content. So for example, running your podcast and then listening at the frames, the images, and the audio to really ascertain what's happening in that moment and doing that at scale across the world. Why that's valuable and where there's a positive aspect that we see is being able to do that can then help an advertiser be more thoughtful with the messaging they then put into that digital content because they're connecting to the mindset of your listener. They're connecting to the mindset of the person engaging. And the other benefit is you don't need to exploit my personal information. When I'm listening to you guys and 4 other people are listening to you guys, we're sharing a moment. And at that point, does it matter whether I'm gay or whether I'm the CEO or whether I'm a Sephora VIP Rouge member or a fishing person? I know I'm very multifaceted. It really doesn't to me. It means we're in a moment enjoying a piece of content or I'm finding a moment. And AI being able to use the elements of that understanding to create that message is quite powerful. And we think does so much good for the world in the future. Albeit it does have areas of its challenges. So that's where we focus on helping advertisers make more meaningful, impactful messages.
I'm so used to being exploited, though.
I know. You got to get used to it. Now wait till we go in, and where it is like what I liken it is like we're trying to connect the mindset. So no longer when you think of AI, everyone's like, oh, we're going to create robots and all these things, and there's going to be AI, right? That's all probably true. But right now, what we're trying to do is less about like who you are, it's more about what you're thinking. And if I know what you're thinking, I can be valuable as an advertiser to give you something in a moment that will be, appreciated by you as the consumer.
Not enough you want to know what I'm thinking, but
I'll say from
Are you thinking, oh, VIP Rouge, how much do you spend this for?
Exactly.
What are your products?
No, I think that there are two things that I just pulled out of what you said. From personal experience, there are times that we are sitting in front of our TV and we watch YouTube on our TV all the time. And there are some times we're like, okay, first of all, what the heck, YouTube? You clearly don't know who we are, which I guess is kind of what you're aiming for. But the other thing is, dropping a commercial about a hamburger right in the middle of a podcast that's talking about investing is probably not the right product placement or the right kind of advertising.
Exactly.
You're like, okay, how do we match up the right kind of, and it really kind of speaks to, we understand the real needs of the individuals we're advertising to, and
Correct.
we want to match those needs. And I think that that's really probably highlighted for those of us in the LGBT community. We oftentimes
That's
see
right.
content and that we resonate with, but then we see ads, especially political ones. We see ads that are like, okay, you're clearly not listening to the content of this show. So I think you're trying to speak to the real needs of people.
Exactly. And it goes as far as also the creative. To your point, dropping a hamburger ad in the middle of the podcast, it's like we fast forward through everything. We don't want to be disrupted. We're in a moment. So even at GumGum, what we've also launched is is a patented overlay ad that could show up really pretty on the bottom where it doesn't disrupt your flow, but also is connected to what I'm doing. So imagine in my perfect world, we're watching a movie, right? And maybe it's a drama. And then right at the bottom comes up a really creative tissue ad that says countdown in 10 minutes, grab your tissues. It's the waterworks are going to start running. You just let me know, stay in your seat. Something's coming. Look
Right.
at my partner. Ooh, I wonder what it's going to be. But the tissue company just gave me and I connected me to their brand in a moment. And because I know the frame and everything and process and see, I know when that moment will be. I can help as a brand you be more ready for that moment. So there are elements of like matching the technology of the understanding of the moment with marrying that with new creative experiences that aren't the same old, interrupt my programming, fast forward and all of that. And then to your point, it does help on my passion and the company's passion around our vision. Because GumGum's 500 people, we're in 20 countries. We've been doing this for a long time. I'm openly gay. And I'm a huge proponent of DEI. It's a big part of our organization. And for us, that's what even starts at the vision level for GumGum. We want to create meaningful connections for everyone everywhere. Right? I'm tired of being exploited or being used as someone who's gay, positive or negative. I want to be looked at as a human being with emotions and feelings and looked at as equal to anyone else around the table experiencing the same thing because we're connecting on a human level. And what our technology allows for that is to do that, right? Even to target a mom who has two kids. Why am I targeting a mom who has two kids? I should be targeting the moment that would make sense for a mom with two kids to experience the correct ad. But when mom's looking for a spa day and fantasizing about being in Fiji, I don't think she wants to be reminded of 30-minute meals to make it home for dinner in the middle of that interaction.
Right.
I'm just guessing here. I'm not a parent. But I do think, to your point, that's where diversity, equity, inclusion, belonging all can really come off the heels of incredible AI technology and get technologies and get back to creating us as humans.
So even in today's environment, you don't see your queerness as a liability?
Absolutely not. I see my queerness as more of an opportunity, as a beacon of hope, and more where I will be able to attract talented people that really believe in what we're doing and want to put in 150% to help deliver against it. So it actually helps me find the real, true, connected people that are going to help make our vision happen.
Yeah, I really appreciate this because I think what you're talking about is, and you even said this, building the powerhouse teams of people who buy into your vision. That's what every founder, every leader really wants with their employees and the people that they work with. Let's take a perspective on this. Let's speak to the individuals who are pushing back on DEI. And I'm going to ask you, speak like you're speaking to a fifth grader, since that's the language that many of them understand. Why is it important? Why is it important to have those kinds of teams, have those kinds of individuals, have that diversity, equity, and inclusion of those kinds of not just faces, but also thought leaders inside your company? And what does that do for your bottom line?
Right. I think even talking to a fifth grader, if you were to go to that level of communication, it's more, At the end of the day, and I have nephews and nieces, if I were to sit down and like, are there times where you just feel different? Just different. Different from someone next to you, different than your teacher. Someone doesn't just really get you. And you feel not sure how to navigate in that feeling. You're not sure. You kind of feel uncomfortable. You don't feel as free. And I think most fifth graders would say, yeah, I felt that way, or I felt that way. And that's the emotion I'm really trying to get people to kind of tap into when we then talk about what ultimately DEIB and those efforts are meant to do, is as a human society, we're just meant to help put a little bit more pep in our step and allow us to feel freer and a little less different. And so for me, it's more about the more we just show up that way and make sure that we don't know what's going on in someone's mind. So let's bring them and make visible all of the different facets that make us people and look and feel and talk and act different present so that they can start to find where that kind of thermometer can drop and that ability to feel free and at ease can drop, and then ultimately find where they can connect, is really the power of the message behind DEIB, right? We like to liken it to specific, you know, races or orientations or identity.
Mm-hmm.
Let's create equity. And, we even see this now, people wanting to understand what people's mental health is and people who struggle with, right? This is all different facets of people looking for visibility, wanting to be lighter in their day, wanting to feel seen and free. And that is the crux of how I push around. I'm not at all walking back. I'm pushing forward on DEIB in the construct of that mindset. And there's not one person at GumGum that I know does not or has not felt that way. And so then translate that and be to the fifth grader, you can be the steward of the kindness wand to somebody else that feels lighter on their feet. You can make them not have to feel that. And I think that is really the power of it. We love to get down into these really like too much here or too much there investment. And people talk about backing down investment. Like DEIB for us is huge. And investment or not, it's visibility. We want visibility, 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 visibility. We're bringing in leaders and people to talk to our teams and chats and all that. It doesn't have to be something you need to write huge checks for. It has to be a commitment and a true part of the company's DNA. But I do think that's the approach that we kind of lean into so that it feels inclusive in its own right, even though that's what it's meant to do, but it's inclusive to someone who perceives themselves as not needing DEIB, that white, traditional majority person.
How does leaning into that improve your GumGum's bottom line and help your shareholders?
I think it's the people first. We've been around for, 16 years. I've been there for 14. I became the CEO. We've had ups and downs as a company. So how it helps the bottom line? Stability. It means we have a team that when we've had to go through challenges where macroeconomic conditions, maybe we've had to restructure, we were in a period of a lull where we just need, we're trying to launch something. The commitment of the team in the face of adversity is the ultimate value to shareholders when you are a growth business trying to move from the little leagues to the major leagues. The only way you get there is when you are hit and beat down, that the team around you is rallied still to help get that through it, even when it means being impacted themselves. So the team at GumGum is tenacious, passionate, really believe in this vision, and have weathered really tough storms to get here. And it's because it intuitively is something they believe in and get behind. And that level of just, I like to think, leadership and company transparency about who you're going to work with every day is a breath of fresh air as well. And so I think that's been the magical combination. And that's where I think it's hard sometimes to convey to investors or shareholders the true value creation, because it's also the foundation that just makes it more stable, that I think the team really is the drivers of.
But stability is what shareholders and investors want, right? They're always complaining about these uncertain times, and it's always an uncertain time. So if you have that stability, you can provide something that your competition can't.
1,000%. And it's your people, it's your team. and the team that wants to do it and sit in there, and you have to look them in the face and say, this is going to be a real hard few months. And do that at 500 people, knowing I can't possibly know or touch all of them, that it's really integrated into our culture is really magical.
Thank you very much, Phil. Hold that thought. We'll be right back after this break.
And welcome back to Living Not So Fabulously. So, Phil, I want to go back to this idea of fifth graders because we're gonna switch over to a little personal finance here. You had an experience with fifth graders.
Yes.
Maybe you can share a little bit of that with us.
Yeah. So I was on the game show, Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader? And this even goes to my transparency thing. It's so funny. So I grew up outside of Chicago, smaller town, and I was a swimmer my whole life. So I'll make this brief. I know this isn't a whole show podcast on my life. But I grew up watching game shows, and we'd come home from swim practice at like 7 in the morning. And this is back in the day when it's like, go out and play with your friends. But our friends weren't awake. So my mom's like, put on game shows. So when I moved to LA, I moved out, and this goes to finance. I moved to LA. I got a job at, one of the big four accounting firms. My background's accounting and finance. If that's a surprise, people don't usually realize that. And then I'm like, I hated it. I was miserable. I'm like, this isn't the environment for me. So I actually picked up, quit, and I moved out to LA with no job. I was in debt.
Oh.
I had no job. I found an apartment online. I just drove out in my Ford Explorer Sport, and I was like crying my eyes out to Wide Open Spaces by the Dixie Chicks. I will never forget it. Such a great jam.
Yeah.
And landed in LA, having only been there for 2 days one time before, and so didn't know anything about it. But the reason the game shows kind of came into play for me was I immediately, when I got there, I'm like, oh my God, I'm in the game show capital of the world, and I'm broke, and I'm in debt, and I need to find a job. So I actually was on The Price is Right, and I did that, and I won like $900 with Bob Barker. And so I just got into this, like, wow, paying attention. Like, there's a lot of opportunity on game shows. So then fast forward, Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader was a new show coming out. And so I decided to apply for the show. And it was a trivia show, came on after American Idol. And yeah, I ended up going on the show. It changed my financial trajectory because I ended up winning $175,000 on the show. I was 29 years old in LA, right? Trying to get out of debt. And I know with you guys have built your Lasso program, like all of this stuff, you guys can relate to this. It's like you get into it and you're like, it's not that easy to get out.
No.
And then so this game show like helped me to like secure that, get out of my debt, and buy my first home with my partner early on. So, but that's how I got on the show, and it was an amazing experience.
That's awesome. I love that story. So the story is ubiquitous that with people winning the lottery or they retire from the NBA or NFL and suddenly they lose everything they earned. And sometimes they get into a worse financial position than when they started or played the lottery. How did you not repeat that story?
I think I tend to be the person who learns from the pain of uncomfortability or situations, right? Like kind of like, after having my first girlfriend, wow, really don't want to do that again. No offense.
No, I know.
Wonderful.
No.
But you know what I'm saying? But like, just as a gay man. And then like being in debt and like, wow, that was uncomfortable. Don't really want to go back into that now that I have an opportunity to get out. I tend to be someone, who can kind of be in something. I'm like, God, what did I get myself into? This isn't really what I want it to be, and then change it. So that is kind of, I think, where how I get out of it. I kind of do sit a lot in like what I'm going through, and I'm like, God, I need to get out of this. I don't want to do this. Hence why when I started at my big four company, I'm like, I'm out of here. I'm moving to LA. I can't sit in here. I don't want this for my life.
Yeah.
I think I learned from those types of things.
You're good at learning the lesson the first time, I guess. Some of us aren't.
Yeah.
Yes.
So one of the missions of this show is to help LGBTQ people think differently about their finances, have conversations with each other about their finances so that we can do better. Is there any piece of advice that you would give to others, whether it's being on a game show or what you're doing with your business, that can help our community to think a little bit better about our finances?
Yeah, I think the number one thing, at least for me, is similar to what I think you both referenced, is talking openly around your goals or what's going on with respect to your finances with your peers, your friends, and other members of the LGBTQ. I don't think we talk enough about trying to keep up with the crowd, stay in the lifestyle, and go out and feel like we're always playing catch up to try to be a part of something. That is a big part of our community, because I'm still amazed when I'm out or I'm with, I'm like, where is everyone getting all of this money, can afford all this? Aren't you guys like that?
Yes.
Yeah. Right? And I'm like, how did you buy this and this and where? I'm like, and you're amazed, and it's, but you're also like, wow, I know what it's like to be in that situation, to have felt like I needed to keep up and go out to that bar and right. I think we need to talk more and create financial support for each other. That is the number one. You know what? I'd love to go out with you. I'm really trying to watch, save my money and trying to do X, Y, and Z. Maybe we could just go to this local bar. I think there's a happy hour for 2 for 1, not the $15, $20, Belvedere cocktail, speakeasy.
Yeah.
And I think if we had more of those conversations and we felt more confident that a lot of us are going through or have gone through that, I think that's the biggest help I can offer. Try to have that one conversation for the first time with your group of friends. I think you'll be positively received by them.
Absolutely.
I think that is probably the capstone of this episode. I really appreciate that. Have those conversations. So thank you so much, Phil, for joining us today.
Oh, thank you both so much, and appreciate everything you're both doing too, giving the voice and visibility to our community, and then really hoping they learned something. So hopefully they enjoyed this as well as much as I did.
Leadership isn't about instilling fear in your employees or showing up with the kitchen sink. It's about inspiring, encouraging, empowering the individuals you work with, building those bridges. When we uplift individuals in our corporation or nonprofit, we actually will see that company thrive.
Exactly. And I think Phil Schraeder is the kind of doctor we really need. And for LGBTQ plus people, we need to remember that leadership isn't just about titles. It's about showing up genuinely and authentically and speaking openly, even in this climate that we're all trying to survive in, and about helping other people live the fabulous life that they want to live, even if that just starts off with a solid 2 for 1 drink recommendation.
Exactly.
So thank you for joining us for another episode of Living Not So Fabulously. Catch new episodes every Wednesday at noon Eastern Time at yahoofinance.com, YouTube, and wherever you binge listen to your favorite podcasts.
Remember, like, subscribe, hit those notification buttons, because those robots, and that's exactly what they are according to Phil, can help us.
So until next time,
Stay fabulous.
This content was not intended to be financial advice and should not be used as a substitute for professional financial services.